back. Hope you're having a good week. My week's been all right. I'm coming to the end of my vacation time, so it's time to get back to work. It'll probably be a little bit of a challenge for me. I had 3 weeks off, and now I'll be just right back into the grind, and things for me here on in will only be getting busier and busier and busier. And if you're like me, one of those guys who works outside or does any type of construction work, you know what it's like. When the snow starts to go away and the weather gets good, things ramp up and life, it gets tough and busy, super busy. Um, so Anyway, before we get to the meditation tonight, I said that I would be looking at breathing because we had talked about last week the labeling technique, and there was some breathing there, and I thought I would do some research on that. And it's so funny when you look up these subjects, it feels like you could study this stuff forever, and you'd think by 2021 the consensus on breathing would be satisfied, or totally understood. But you know what, people are still pumping out stuff on breathing all over the internet. It's interesting, but for the most part I think I was able to come to get something of value here. You may have heard me mention last week something about belly breathing. And though it's called that, I think the more technical term they use is diaphragmatic breathing. And this is the breath that is used for calming yourself, and it taps into your nervous system. When we're born, we are born as diaphragmatic breathers. When we're babies and we're laying in the crib, our breathing is perfect. It's doing totally what it should. But it's as we grow and we start doing things that are less natural to our nature, where we tend to alter our breathing. We do things that are bad for it. We become thoracic breathers, where all our breath is coming through the top of our chest, and we build bad posture, which actually ends up hurting our breathing. So this diaphragmatic breathing, this is the part that's just under your lungs, near the bottom, top of your, the bottom of your rib cage. I don't know if you can see it, right here is your diaphragm. And I guess the reason that they call it belly breathing is that when you breathe in and you fill that area up, what it does is your rib cage kind of expands a bit, but it pushes down on your belly, pushing your belly out. You're not really breathing into your belly. But this is actually apparently really good for your organs. So that's one thing to take into account. And another thing that I learned, and the jury might be out on this, I don't know. I saw one guy, and he looked like he was a personal trainer, and he was talking about, you don't want to just be belly breathing, but he had a more, a whole body approach. Like, not only do you want your diaphragm doing its thing, but even in the core of your chest. And he was all about, making sure that your spine is lined up properly, and doing proper exercises to make sure that your pelvis is right, stacked properly under your chest, so that you're totally breathing properly. So when it comes to this stuff, I am, I'm just passing on stuff that I've learned. Don't just take it from me. I am not a doctor. go do your own studies, talk to your doctor if you're more interested. I'm just trying to pass on some of the stuff that I learned. You know, you could just study this stuff forever. It's ridiculous. But one of the exercises that I learned, which you can do on your own time for breathing, is you can lay on your back, and what you can do is you can put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and just breathe in through your nostrils and out through your nostrils. Now, this is normally what I do. I always just, whenever I do my meditations, I'm only breathing in and out of my nose. So I'm doing this diaphragmatic breathing. So, you know, put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and just, you know, breathe in for 3 to 5 seconds, hold it, breathe out for 3 to 5 seconds, hold it, and even in between, hold it for 3 to 5 seconds. Just 3 and then 3 and 3. Do that 10 times. And apparently, like, if you do this enough, you can retrain your body from all the bad habits. It's funny, when you're at work, man, I've, you know, before I was really aware of all of this, you know, you'd be driving home from work and you just have such shallow breaths. You're just like, it's all mouth breathing, it's all high, you know, you're really not taking in a full breath. But apparently, you know, you might be able to change that. So, work on your breathing, work on in your meditations, really try to anchor yourself in your breath, and keep your focus. So I think that's enough for this lesson, this breathing stuff here. What we'll do is we'll get into our meditation like we normally do. And I really hope that anyone who's watching this, that you're being consistent with your meditations. Make sure that you're keeping that stuff up. So we'll get back at it. We're gonna do our 20-minute sit like we normally do. I'll put some music on. I'll turn my mic off, and then after it's done, I'll come back and I'll talk a little bit more. All right. So let's get into it. Okay. Let me turn my mic off here. it was good. Could maybe test out some of that breathing stuff I was talking to you about. Really feeling the air in your diaphragm, stuff like that. But what we'll do now is I'll do that the spiritual literature thing that I normally do. I try to find some scripture, story, or parable, or whatever I can out there. Now, this week, normally I like to read them, but this one I couldn't find the text, the proper text for it, and there was a really good YouTube video out there. And shocking, this is the first like Buddhist one that I've done. It's amazing we've done, we're on 7 weeks now of meditation. This is the first time I've even done anything Buddhist wise, I think. I might be remembering wrong. I don't know. But anyway, this is called The Story of Buddha and God. And I think the guy who reads it on YouTube, the YouTube site is daretodo.motivation. Now, I don't know if this is a traditional scripture. I, for some reason, don't think it is. I tried to find stuff on it. I couldn't find anything. And then the only page I found was like, Buddhists don't believe in God. And it was I don't know. But I like the story, and you can do what you want with it. So what I'll do is I'll just pause my mic here. I'll turn this on. You can listen to it, and then I'll come back and we'll wrap things up. All right.
One day, in the early morning, Gautama Buddha was sitting in a garden quietly with his disciples. A man arrived silently and stood in the shadows. That man was a great devotee of Lord Rama. He had built many temples across the country. He had devoted many years in the service of Lord Rama. He would always chant Rama's name and contemplate on Rama's greatness. He was old and close to his last years, and even after many years of dedicated spiritual effort, he was not enlightened. He wanted to know for sure if there is a God or not. When he heard about the Enlightened One, he came to get his doubt cleared. When he felt that nobody would notice him talking to Buddha, he asked Gautama, "O Enlightened One, please tell me the truth, and truth only. Is there a God?" Buddha, from his intuition, knew that man to be a great devotee of Lord Rama. He looked at that man with seriousness and said, "No, my friend, there is no God." Buddha's disciples that had gathered were very relieved and joyous to finally know the truth that there was no God. They all started muttering between them, sharing what the Buddha had just told. Whenever a disciple had asked that question to Buddha, he would become silent, so they never knew. His words spread through the whole town. The whole town was celebrating the day on which the truth of no God was revealed by the Enlightened One. They were finally free of the ideas of hell, heaven, and of somebody sitting up to judge one's actions. It was getting late in the evening, and once again, the disciples came back and sat around the Buddha. There was a materialist who had been an atheist all his life. He had convinced thousands of people that there was no God. He used to go to the priests and scholars and defeat them in the argument about God. He too was getting old, and little suspicion arose in him. What if there is God? Isn't it a waste of my life to spread the no God message if there is God? He was eaten by his doubt. He finally decided to know the truth and sought the Enlightened One. He slowly came up to where Buddha was sitting and asked him, "They say you are enlightened. Please tell me if there is God." Buddha, knowing that man to be an atheist, said with firm voice, as if he is in firm conviction, "Yes, there is God." Buddha's disciples once again were back to confusion. The word spread around town that there was no God, and so the whole town was confused. You see, in life, the belief that there is God or the belief that there is no God are both equally useless. One has to realize the truth in himself. If there is a God, is it a reason to behave better? If there is no God, is it a reason to behave worse in your life? No. So to realize oneself is to look inside of you and not looking for a truth that is somewhere out there in the universe. Because life is short and you can spend your whole life thinking about if there is God or no God. But here on earth, if you are good, you are good. If you are bad, you are bad. This is Dare to Do Motivation Stories. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.
Alright, so that was a good little story there. I like that, you know. It's amazing. It seems like there's an infinite amount of these stories out there, so I'll keep dishing them out as I find them. And you can take that food for thought with you throughout the week and ponder it. You know, it's good. I always like to try and hear these stories as if I'm hearing them for the first time. Not to take all the things that life is telling me what they mean, but me looking within myself and trying to understand them for the first time. So I guess that kind of wraps things up for this week. You know, again, I challenge anyone who watches these videos to do the 30-day meditation challenge of 20 minutes a day. Give it a go. You know, what do you have to lose? It's funny. This is not some wacky religious practice. This is very down to earth. There are definitely phenomenal spiritual elements out there about this stuff, but you don't have to totally incorporate it. You don't have to incorporate that. You can just take the fundamental part, the physical part. If that's where you're at in this growth, and you can benefit physically, mentally from this practice, and you can use it in your day-to-day life. So I guess I'll leave it there. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you guys next Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right, I'm signing off. Take care.